So welcome to another edition of the podcast that is Life After Work. We're normally four. There are just three of us today, and one of the guys is taking an unapproved leave, actually. But normally four of us who are all in our 50s, no longer doing our primary jobs, get together and normally chat about stuff. And I have to say, if you're looking for something that's very philosophical, if you're looking for something that's going to give you some insight to how to run your life, if you're looking for something that's going to tell you how to make millions of quid, you got the wrong podcast. This is just basically a podcast, four guys normally chatting stuff. Basically, you get my drift. So today we have got dentist to the stars of Altrincham, former dentist to the stars of Altrincham, now available for fashion shoots in beautiful shirts, and he's available for endorsement. If anybody who can supply lovely shirts like this, Mr. Ash Sharma. Afternoon, Ash.
Afternoon, everyone. How are we?
We're all good.
I'd like to say on this glorious afternoon, but I think autumn is definitely reared its head, hasn't it?
I just think it's another day in Manchester, Ash, to be honest with you. It's just wet. It's warm.
Those of us are in Manchester, that of course. Just some of us are not.
Of course. Well, that brings us to our Greek exile, Mr. Paul Davies, an author, a poet, a podcaster, and a jigsaw photographer potentially. Mr. Davies, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's getting a bit cold here. We've got a wind. I think it's dropped to 21 degrees. It is sunny and blue sky, but there is a cold northerly wind, but no rain as yet. But I'm doing absolutely great, thanks. Yeah,
very
really
good.
Am.
Very good. Well, I was away last week, actually. I was in Italy, in Lake Como, and the reason why I said it is I discovered a little fact. So I don't know if you are into James Bond, but you know the film Casino Royale. Well, there's a bit where James Bond, Daniel Craig, is recuperating in a house off an Italian lake, right? And he sat there in a lounger. Okay. And what I discovered, and this is the trick of cinematography, if you like, is that they made it look like where he was sitting in this house was facing the lake, but it was actually the other side, not facing the lake. Just a small thing to you. It just, these things baffle me these days.
How did they do it then in the end? How did they?
No, what I reckon is that they filmed him. They filmed using both sides of the house, but when they wanted to do a shot of the house, they had their back to the lake. They shot from the other side, right? And then when they wanted to show the lake, they shot from the side of the house with the lake. But the side of the house with the lake didn't have as nice a frontage as the house without the lake. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But so it was just my little discovery in Italy last week. One of many, of course, but also the numerous amount of Americans who were there are probably taking advantage of the exchange rate at the moment. But one of many things. So there you go.
There's George Clooney owns a house on Lake Como.
He has indeed.
And I believe, I could be wrong, I think, is it Graham Gooch that sometimes goes there? I don't know if you know
that was my I'm genuinely quite excited about this, right? So here I was last week with Helen, sitting in this little taverna type place, right? Surrounded by Americans. Obviously, the strength of the dollar meant that they all decided to go to Italy for a week, and we were sitting there, and I felt like I might as well be in a New York Italian type thing, and in walked through the door Graham Gooch. Right now, I'm not a cricket fan, right? And I'm not somebody who's easily startled by celebrity, right? I like to think. But suddenly I just went, Gucci, like that, right? It was this just reaction. And he looked at me, and the Americans all went, shh, like that, as if I had met somebody from the Italian Gucci, right? Not Gucci, the England bowler and captain. And anyway, he walked past me to go to the toilet, and he sort of gave a, hi, how are you type thing, right? And that was fine. And I didn't expect anything more. And the Americans started chatting again. And then he came past and he stopped at our table, right? Completely voluntarily. It wasn't because of eye contact, because I had my back to where he was coming out. And he stood talking to us for about 5 to 10 minutes. and about just stuff, right? And I was unbelievably bowled over, but you know, uh, just how authentically nice the guy was. You know, it was as if we'd met before, and he was just, how's your holiday? Are you enjoying Italy? Blah blah blah. You know, and I sort of said, are you in between internationals? Are you in between, comedy or whatever? And it's one of those things where you sort of think, if all celebrities were like that,
Well, I'm glad, Rod, you weren't stumped for anything to say.
Oh God!
but the thing is, I stayed away from cricket because I know sod all about cricket, so I couldn't ask him about the team or anything else. That
But you could ask Ellen to bail you out, could she? So that wouldn't have been.
Oh God!
he's
So,
on
so
roll.
just to recap, you're on one of the most expensive lakes in Italy, one of the most beautiful lakes, Lake Como. George Clooney, as we alluded to, has a house there. James Bond was filmed there. You know, all these rich spending Americans, and there's Rodney Maxwell, DJ to the stars and podcaster, standing up going, Gucci, Gucci.
I might as well have had my red, white, and blue with a bulldog at the moment going, go on, mama son, you know. But
Army.
Army. But I mean, I'm not English and I know nothing about cricket. But it was one of those funny things. It was just an involuntary Gucci, you know what I mean? And I mean, I think I seen Jamie Carragher earlier that week. Only, and I didn't go and say anything to him. Although I checked, and Jamie Carragher apparently he's only about 6 foot, and this person looked like 6'3" and had big, those big American sunglasses that fighters sometimes used to have to hide.
Wayfarers.
But big square things, like from the 70s, like your man out of what's the movie with George Clooney in it?
Ocean's 11 or whatever.
That's the one. And you know that, like the Godfather type figure, the really cool one, and he's got the big square glasses. Anyway,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I saw a character, but I didn't go up to him,
So talking of the Godfather, some interesting news I found out last week. Did you know that Sicily are encouraging people to go and live in their country and will actually allow you to buy? I think they give you some money towards going and living in Sicily and actually allow you to buy big estates for, I'm not sure of the price, but like a €1, as long as you do the property up and commit to staying there for 10 years, because apparently the population of Sicily is dropping rapidly.
Why is it dropping? Did they say why?
Because all the
young people are probably moving away.
Yeah, well, the old people are obviously passing.
Not crime. They're not crime gangs or anything.
No. The younger people are going off to make more money elsewhere, and it's just generally the population. But there was quite a few countries, some places in Greece, some places in Canada, some places, like I say, Sicily as well, that are paying for people to go and live in their country, so long as you, like I say, stay there for at least 10 years. But can you imagine that? Oh, where do you live? Oh, I live in Sicily. Oh, this is a beautiful mansion. Yeah, it cost me €1.
But it cost you 2 million to do it up.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was some island in Scotland that did something similar? And I'm not talking about the TV program thing, but I think there was a genuine island in Scotland where they needed to bring in people. I've actually always been quite interested in doing that.
Yeah,
going somewhere remote, and
Where would you go then, guys?
Well,
those of us are not in exile.
I was very interested in this particular Greek island, and I looked into it, and it is quite rural. They have one shop, a very small population. I'm talking thousands as opposed to hundreds or tens of thousands, just thousands. No internet, nothing like that business. And I was very interested, but I then read the small print, and you have to be Greek to go and live there. So it was encouraging Greeks to go and live there. But I was surprised how many countries and governments pay for you to go and live in there and I've got to be honest, Sicily really took me aback, because I thought Sicily would have been, I mean, you talk about the mafia and mafiosa there and everything like that, but what a place to live. Oh, the sunshine, the food, the culture, the countryside. Oh,
But you say that, right, and I get in a bit, because my original retirement plan from years ago, for hopefully what would have been years to come, it didn't work out that way, obviously, but mine was go and live in the Lake District, right, a little house, a bit of plot of land, and away from everything, and could go walking or whatever. But now that I am retired, I couldn't imagine anything worse, because I couldn't have dealt with the lack of the isolation of everything, ability to hop onto a flight to go somewhere, or just even community around you.
yeah.
I
I think you're right. I think because you've looked at it from the aspects of having a very busy life, haven't you, at that time? And it was, the image or the opposite of being here, there, and everywhere, different meetings, different parts of the country, doing your work.
yeah,
Yes, your brain will think, God, I would love to have somewhere secluded where, and you do set plans for that in the future. But like you say, when it comes down to it, you think, can I cut that umbilical cord from society, as in trains, planes, and automobiles, everything there? It is a very difficult thing to do. I've always been set to come to Greece for many many years, so I think I conditioned myself that that's what I was going to do. But yeah, to actually, it's a great idea for people who are working to, because it's like a fantasy, isn't it? This is what I'm working towards. This is what I'm going to do. When I retire, I want to do this. And people who come here on holiday, oh, you're so lucky coming here, because they have the holiday experience, don't they? They don't. When you're living here, it is a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
It's totally different. It's still beautiful, but it's a different kettle of fish. So yeah, I can totally get why you've gone off the idea once you'd retired, because it's a massive step, especially in your line of work when you were busy, and I would imagine for Ash as well, because
Well, it is. I mean, like you said, Paul, it's the antidote to your life as it is then. So if you've got a life then which is incredibly busy, routine, organized, diarized, target driven, everything like that. So when you do have a holiday, you go to the lakes, and then you're there for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then you just extrapolate it, don't you? You think, oh, this is 2 weeks. Can you imagine what a lifetime here would be like?
Exactly,
Can you imagine what everything? And it doesn't. It's not. It is a fantasy, because you realize that there's more. In your life, you do like the crack, don't you? You do like the fact that you want to be busy. You want to not so much up against it, but you want to have a routine. And it's really hard to get a routine.
And what people forget, Ash and Rod, is that people seem to think that, oh yeah, if I went to live in the lakes or live in this country, that there'd be no problems. There are always problems, but they're different problems.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a different.
sure.
We'll never live life without a new set of problems. I haven't got the same problems I had in the UK and when I was working, but I still have a different set of problems now that sometimes wear me down, and I think, oh Jesus Christ.
but that's exactly it. Is
Right.
that it's not all easy, is it? I mean, I I definitely sometimes struggle more, or as much now as I might have done at work, with a whole set of different issues, and it'll be 6 years, sorry, in 2 days' time, that I was in having my surgery. So last Friday, 6 years ago, was when I was initially diagnosed.
Okay.
And the strange thing is, those 6 years have flown by. I mean, I always think of time in terms of like those 7 years of primary school, 7 years of grammar school. That's nearly my whole time in one level of education, and it's gone by like that.
Did that anniversary of that was that a point for you to reflect then, Rod? Did you do that, or did you just crack on?
Do you know, Ash? I think this time, because we were away, I think tried to not linger on it, right? But it was there, and it's more because of the way that the year falls, it was a Thursday afternoon I had my surgery. It'll be a Thursday to this week. It's the 6th anniversary. It was a Friday when I first got diagnosed. I went to see my GP, and it was a Friday, the same date, and it's just it's a weird thing, and I don't talk about it as much as I'm talking about now, but I certainly try not to linger on it. But it's there. It's in the back of your mind, and I actually know that about this time 6 years ago, I was with my family having my Northern Irish family having lunch in the Axe and Cleaver, and they had flown over to see me in case the surgery had gone badly. And I was talking to Mum today, and I was thinking, it's 6 years since we had that lunch, and it's weird, just weird.
Yeah.
But it's I think the funny thing about 6 years is that it's gone by in a flash, and you realize actually when you stop working, it doesn't really slow down necessarily at all. In fact, it seems to speed up, which is even weirder. You know what I mean?
Well, you get different reasons why you can get points of reflection. I was just saying to you both beforehand, like this last week, I've been ill, so I've not been that well, and so I've been able to. I've just lost my routine because I was ill. Normally, I'm up early, go to the gym, and then there's a routine that you get through, and then it just disrupts that routine. I know what you can say that when you're working you're ill, and then but the difference there is you can always go back to work. There's work waiting for you. There's something to go back to. And here, I'm telling you, it's really hard to maintain focus. When you're detached from this, when you haven't got the rails of a job to keep you on track, if you don't have that anymore, and it's really hard, to continuing to labor that pond now, is to basically get yourself back on track. And I really found it a bit of a struggle. So it's great doing this was great again. So I thought, I've got some of this to look forward to, and then getting back on it again. But I'm just going to get back to it tomorrow and get cracking again. So it is really important. We've said it before, haven't we? How important routine is in our lives.
Yeah.
And when anything disrupts that.
Yeah, I sometimes, you can get to the point where you wake up and think, how the hell am I going to fill my day today? What am I going to do? I've got nothing planned. I don't know what I'm going to do. And yes, some people could say, and that aren't in that position, or some in that position could say, well, that's great. You don't have to do anything. And no, I don't have to do anything. But because I've grown up and worked in a job and various jobs that are routine, I like to know basically how I'm going to fill my day, or how I'm going to at least start my day. A plan. I mean, Jane and I, when Jane's over here as she is now, we've got into walking. I mean, we got the dog, obviously, Charlie. We walk the dog, but we turned to the iPhone fitness app to see how many steps we're doing and making sure we're burning calories. So it's easy, because it's very easy, gentlemen, to fall into the trap over here to think, I will relax. I'll probably sit in the sun, but I'll eat and I'll eat and I'll eat and I'll eat and I'll eat, and you just eat. So we've decided, you know what, we're going to turn the dog walking into a bit of a hobby, because we were going on about hobbies before. And Jane has never been one for exercise, but I kid you not, gentlemen, last night to get her steps up, she was like, oh my God, I haven't got my steps up. She's walking up and down the road here from around the bedroom like this, trying to get her steps up.
It's amazing how, like, the likes of and the smart watches, etc., how it just shows you that people need measures and people need objectives and all of that stuff. And I mean, you were used to having that in your job, and it's a way of motivating you, right? Maybe controlling, but actually for discipline, that's what these devices do now, don't they?
Well, I did it when I was off for the week. I ended up saying, right, I've got to finish a book. So I finished that. I don't know if you read of Robert Galbraith, So it's J.K. Rowling's pseudonym. So she's written this detective series, which you would probably love, Paul. It's absolutely really good. So talk about metric. I was saying, right, I must read 3 or 4 chapters a day. And then it gets to a session. All right, get these 3 chapters done. I'll have a break. I come back to it. Then I'll have another 3. And I clocked the book within about 2 days. It's just, but it wasn't like I'm trying to say that, this was, oh, great. Isn't that brilliant? It's just like something I needed to give myself a routine to, to get through it.
Do you think, because I think the younger generation don't have this as much, but do you think it was our upbringing and education?
Probably, yeah.
It is that we need structure in our life. We need some sort of structure now, whether that's while you're working or when you're retired or when you need some sort of structure.
For me, yes.
I think that gives some kind of structure to your life, whether it's using an app to walk, using an app to shop, use whatever it is.
Or it can be a plug hole of time.
Yes.
That's the thing. The minute you open it, go onto WhatsApp, go onto a Chrome, or go onto BBC site, you'll soon find, oh my God, where's the hour gone?
No. But I don't think it's a generational thing, right? I think that every generation has needed structure in some ways, and you can see it through in different societies. You can see the industrial society where people used to live in the same houses, they had certain work patterns, etc., and they conformed to that. But that's because human nature is that way, and I think the sort of structures that we appreciate or use may not be exactly the same that the next generation, our kids, our grandchildren use, but they will use something that is relatively similar.
But you don't think it's like what Paul was saying? It is becoming progressively more flexible. To say what you just said there, Rod, if you go to Victorian times, the kids went at 8 o'clock, probably came back at 4:30, 5, break, lunch, this, that. Now it's all flexi hours with everything, isn't it? It's just, you can make up your hours as you're going along, as long as you do them.
It is in a way, but if you I mean, this is where I think we're in an interesting time, especially with the pandemic that we had. Is the pandemic shook up the work world, right? And it allowed everybody to go back to work at home or work differently. But I think what you're seeing is a gradual move back towards, for the majority, a more traditional style going to the office on occasions, mixed in with the more, if you like, modern approach of flexibility. But it's a hybrid now. But I still think a lot of people do actually like a bit of structure. They may not like to admit it, but it actually fits and it allows them to switch off and fit into that structure, and they don't have to think too much.
I think at the end of the day, for you to be productive in whatever it is, pursuit you want to do, hobbies or anything like that, you need structure. I mean, I'm sure we said it to you, Paul, before. If you're writing, if you think to yourself, I've got to do this book, I'm doing a poem or something like that, where would you be without structure?
Yeah, my structure for writing nowadays is stuck in immigration department. It's still waiting to get a pass to come through, unfortunately. And once that's caught up with me, I'll probably get that structure back in my life. But I am the world's, I've said this to you before, guys, and Jane about me, I am the world's worst procrastinator. I will sit down to write a book and go, the outside needs painting. I need to do that before I write another chapter, because that's important. And then
once you're on,
once I'm on a roll, I'm on a roll and I'm in that zone. I was doing a bit before, and I know Jane said she was talking to me about something, and I didn't acknowledge her because she said you're in your own little zone. So once I'm switched on and I'm there, I do go at it. But it's getting me to start at that zone, which I myself, I don't understand, because I love writing. I love the fact that I can make these characters up and have a story, and it excites me when I know where the story's going. So I don't understand why the first thing I'm doing in the morning isn't running down to my Mac, open it up and start a new chapter. I don't know why.
Maybe it's the fact that you have that choice now. Whereas before, when you were working, you didn't have that choice.
That's spot on, because I had a couple of days to write, so I'd write in those days, and then I'd be back to work. So I've
always thought of you with a pen and paper.
Oh, I use that as well. I have my little leather bound.
Oh, very nice.
Oh,
all my notes in it. That right
Brilliant.
now. So
Love it. I love that.
it's beautiful. Jane,
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, so I've had that for many years. I think it's got the last 3 books I wrote. Notes are in there, so it's worth a
Fantastic.
fortune. Want to go, boys?
I've got first dibs.
I'll broadcast it. It'll be called the Davis Diaries.
Oh yeah. So what
Davis.
other? I mean, we were talking off air and perhaps on air about different hobbies. So as a retired guide, I guess that you, Rod, for you, a lot of it goes into your radio play. But Ash, and I would have liked to ask. I know Phil's into his triathlon and all that. But what, forgetting your sort of main thing, like you with the radio, but what is the one thing you like doing and would like to get into more? For example, we were talking about photographing to turn them into jigsaws, which I've started doing, or whether it's, I don't know, bird watching or something like that. Is there anything you guys sort of think, I'd like to get into that, but I don't, anything?
For me, but I think I'm in getting increasingly into is the singing actually. So singing in the choir, which again we've talked about this before, but the seeds were there, the foundations were there as a kid, and I do think that you do come back to things slightly. But for me now, I just love the fact that I can do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's one of the things that I just love, because it involves people, and it involves collaborating, and it's something that's artistic, if you like, and extremely good for the whatever the measure of wellness is, so.
Singing enhances pheromones and stuff, doesn't it? It's a feel good factor. It's a bit like chocolate,
yeah,
and stuff like that.
Well, you know that when people, you're right, Paul, because people who have acute and chronic stuttering, when they try to speak, they can't. But ask them to sing, and they will without stuttering. Isn't that amazing?
Who was that guy on the X Factor many years ago when Will Young was he called?
I think it was.
And the other guy that came second, he had a very bad stutter.
Yes, that's right. He was a good singer too.
Yeah, he was a good singer as well.
Yeah,
but you're right there, Ash. It does. And don't you think that's very strange of the human body, where you can be a bad stutter but sing perfectly?
But it comes from a different part of the brain, almost the verbal areas of it. When you're actually formulating a sentence and this, that, and the other, it's very rational, very logical, isn't it? Come from singing, it's like creative, so it's in a different part. So, so you just there are studies on it which are pretty, like you say, but it is pretty amazing.
Well, we used to have a minister who had a stutter, but had the most beautiful voice, and when he sang, never, just absolutely flowed. And it is quite incredible how different parts of the brain and there's something about the pattern and maybe it just is you relax part of your brain.
It's like with people who are talking. Who was the writer? He was a writer. What's his name? He was a doctor as well. Is it Chekhov? He basically he couldn't talk to people. But bloody hell, ask him to put it down on paper. He'd make you cry. It's just amazing. As soon as the nib went to the paper, and that was it, he was off. He could describe sceneries and that. But he said, read it out. Oh, God, he's bumbling away. Couldn't read anything or anything. It's phenomenal, isn't it? It's just when you get your passion, when you're talking about that and you really love something, just move out of the way. It's fantastic, isn't it?
So apart from wanting to, obviously, get in the GQ magazine modelling shirts, which I think you should do, Ash.
I think he's
I think
I'm about 6 inches too short, I'm afraid.
The older man,
38 years too old.
The older man in Primark.
I think it could be just called the Charmer.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
What would you want to do, Ash?
I've always. I don't know if I'm an eternal student, guys. That's the thing. I just like, I like reading, so I like the fiction aspect of it, like science fiction and everything. But I'm really getting into, I'd love, to analyze and to assess, look at what I'm reading and to actually look at it in a different way. I'm always slightly regretful that I didn't do things like English literature or anything like that. So when someone writes something and I was thinking, oh, do you know, that's really nice, but I was like, why is it nice? Why did they write it like that? What was the point of what they were saying? Why are the characters laid out like that? And I would, you know, maybe I would maybe take it a bit further and do an actual course, you know.
Well, you should, because, yeah, I think you'd have, as an adult, I think you'd have a more objective
Yeah, I think so.
view, because as a kid, when you talk Shakespeare, it's like, what the hell's he going on about?
Yeah.
You know, blah, blah, blah. But as you grow and you learn and you become educated, you probably understand those sort of works more and analyze it better than you
Totally.
would.
I totally agree with that, because there's books I've read. There's some books that I've read when I was like 14, 15, you know, like some of the Asimov ones, and I've read them again now. And I think I must have missed out half the book.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Was I asleep when I read it? It's ridiculous.
Exactly. The books I read at school, which I enjoyed at school, but I've reread many times. Of Mice and Men, 1984.
Yeah.
Books like that. That when there's one called The Chrysalids, which again is about
John Wyndham, fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. But I enjoyed them as a kid, but now I can be more engrossed in them because I know exactly what they're going on about. It's kind of lost a little bit.
Yeah. So that's what I would love to do. Something maybe, you know, maybe even do a degree or something like that, but it need more time, couple of years, whatever. It depends if I really want to do it, what I want to do out of this. But it's not really. Am I being creative there, or am I being told what to do? I don't know.
What do you mean? Sorry, if you're
so if I'm doing a lesson, if I'm doing I don't know, another degree or something like that, am I just getting someone else's lesson plan and not really thinking for myself again? I mean, like what you do, Paul, is you are doing it for yourself. You are writing. You are doing it from scratch. This is from you, from your heart. I'm not really doing anything like that.
And I know what you need to do then.
Write a book.
You need to read a book and give your opinion in a blog version.
Yeah.
Then
films, film reviews.
You never know. People might read it and think.
And I know a multimedia organization that would publish that.
You see?
Oh, really?
You see this gentleman? It's the knitting of
synergy.
Yes.
You
should do that. Write a blog. Just get it out there. You know, people read blogs. WordPress, they give you a blog site for nothing. You know, it's free.
And I think that's the thing, is what harm would it be doing it? And you can do it these days. And like, you can write a book and not need a publisher, you know?
Exactly.
You could, you know, it's exactly right. You actually, if you enjoyed and think you would like to do an English literature degree course or a PhD, why not skip that part and just go and do something?
Yeah.
And try it.
I mean, it's like you just said that with technology, like if you've got creativity, a phone you can use for photography. A phone, you were saying, Rod, for commentary in a football match. You know, and in a professional level commentary almost. So maybe a blog. It is, but it's just having the gumption to do it and getting yourself out there.
But the thing is, it's about taking the first step.
Yeah.
Because once you take the first step, actually momentum takes over, you know, and you know, I think it's the same with anything that you do these days. You just got to take that first step, and it's never been easier in some ways to take the first step. You know,
it really, truly is. Like I say, WordPress, massive. WordPress are massive. Yes, you can pay for them to host if you turn into a website, but I have a WordPress account that's absolutely free, and I put poems out there. I put little bits of blogs out there. It's all free. Gets to loads of people. All free. Don't need any science in computer design, because it brings.
I was going to say, do you need any coding?
No, you don't need anything. You put in the boxes and you're away. You can. I do it on my phone basically.
But if you think about it, you have got a history of hearing stories of patients, right? And I'm not saying you would ever use that verbatim, But you've got a different, you've got so many different characters that you've come across in your life that sat in that chair with you, right? And you could even write something from the point of a dentist, you know, and because nobody will know that character better than you do. I think Paul's right. You should just give it a go. What harm's it gonna do?
No.
Diary of a Dentist by Ash Sharma.
Yeah, I tell you. Yeah, and you've got the look, you know, flip me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
You can see him, can't you? You can see him like.
Oh God.
I can. Paul will be there at the book launch, you know.
Yeah, we will go in. Go in. Gucci.
Ashy. Come on, lad.
But I think this is the point: is you don't need, you know, by all means, you know, people should do PhDs if they're interested in the process of learning, right? But if they're actually interested in doing that for another enabler to do something else, actually, why not just give it a go anyway?
Do you know what I'd do, Ash? I'd go to Heidi and go, thinking of doing this, what do you think? Always get the opinion of your good lady.
Yeah.
Look at him, he's panicking now, isn't he?
We put him on the spot, Paul.
Yeah, no. I mean, I know what you're both. I mean, this is, to be honest with you, you got some, you know, like with Paul, you've just basically, you've done it. You're walking the walk. You do it. You've done it. It's something you've dreamed of doing, and guess what? You've done it. You're doing it. And Rod, if you're looking at what you did before to what you're doing now in terms of in a radio, it's chalk and cheese. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Exactly. And you've done it. I know, but you have, but you can't really denigrate anything like that. You can't, because at the end of the day, it is something that you've done, and you're doing it to, you brought us four together, didn't you?
Do you know what? I've said it before, and I will say it again many times, and I've said it on the podcast. I do admire what you have done, Rod, because
for sure.
You could only go two ways after losing your job and after your brain operation: right downhill and give up completely, or take a grasp and think, I need to change direction.
Yeah.
And I need to do something to keep. And look at you now. You know, you do your DJ, you do your singing. Full, absolute 100% credit to you for doing that. Yeah. Because there's not a lot of people that would be able to take that step, because like Ash is thinking about taking the first step on this blog, and it's should. You had a massive choice of trying to take your first step of moving on. Was the hardest that people in your position have to do, and a lot don't do it. They go, do you know what? I might as well just give up and blah blah. But you've done well, Rodney. You've done well. So yeah, props to you.
Absolutely.
But I think we do live in an age where it is more permissible to give it a go. You know, yeah. And at times I used to think, you know what, we don't appreciate and respect knowledge enough, right? So sometimes I've thought that there's people who don't get opinion and all this type of thing. They're all about, you know, they're all about the presentation and not the content, if you know what I mean. And they don't honor expert opinion. But at the same time, you don't need to go and do a PhD in English literature to have a go at writing a book, because at the end of the day, it's, you can give it a go and find out who likes it, And what's the worst that can happen? You're not going to invest huge amounts of money in it. You invest some time, and the process in itself could actually be quite experimental, quite insightful.
It's actually quite cathartic. The whole from what's good is that when you write a book and then you get it so it's where people can buy it, that in itself, it's like that is an achievement, and that you feel so proud of yourself. And getting to that stage, it really is cathartic. Because gone are the days when you write a book, oh, no publisher will take this one, nobody will buy it, it'll just be me, and you can get a little bit put off by that. But now the fact that you can self-publish, and it's dead easy to publish a book and get it into Amazon stores or wherever, there's actually reward at the end of your writing journey. It's so easy.
But this is similar to people who are involved in artisan crafts, whether it be artisan bakeries. It could be I saw a guy who I think he made window boxes or something like that, right? And you know I think that person was retired, just like us actually, and you sort of think, well, you know, as long as you do something and you enjoy it and you do it quite well, doesn't matter, you know. And
I mean, you just have to look at Alti Market. I mean, you look at Altrincham Market there. You look, like you say, Rod. You know, the artisans there, all the way from the sketchers, you know, the drawers. You know, you'll see the people who are drawing football characters, pop stars, and you get the bread makers who were there as well, and pie. It is, you know, like you say, if you have a passion for something, and you do what you passionately love, you can't go wrong, I don't think.
And also there, I do believe, and it's maybe a sad thing in today's life, but a backstory doesn't do any harm, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and because that is all part of what people buy into. They want to buy into something where they can turn around and say, you know what, I read these books by this guy. He's a former dentist, and he turned him, you know, he turned that situation around. He's become a writer. That is people buy into that, you know.
People buy backstories. They buy not sad sob stories, but something that you see what it would do. It makes the author or the artist a genuine person, as opposed to
you can identify with them. Right?
Yeah, you can identify with them, and you're like, oh my god, I've been through that. But talking of art, have you seen that young girl? I think she's 14, 15, who she's a British girl. She's got her paint.
Did you see the quality of them though? It's photorealistic, amazing. Yeah, it's on BBC, Rod. If you've not seen it,
she's got an exhibition going at the moment, and some of her paintings are up for like 24,000. But the quality of these for a 14, 15-year-old young person they're amazing, aren't they, Ash?
It is it is phenomenal. Yeah, and she's and you know, and it takes her weeks to do one, but yeah, as you say, £23,000 for what? For
Well, just talking about giving it a go. Do you know the one thing that has always been on the back of my mind about giving it a go, but I would never do it, would be to be a politician. Right? Because I sort of think, my God, the bar is so low, anybody with any nous could be good at it. You know what I mean? But anyway, sorry, I'm just thinking about giving things a go. But I think the point is, we're lucky enough that you're at a point in time where you can give things a go, whether it be being an artist and you can put your stuff up digitally, for example, you know, you can sell it from anywhere in the world. Writing poetry, I think as long as you do it with a genuine sort of a genuine authentic approach, it actually works. You know.
And if you do it with whether it's artistry, whether it's writing poems, books, whatever, that as long as you are genuine to your art and authentic to your art, and don't think this is going to make me money, you do it for you. The selling of it is the cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it to make money, you might as well not do it at all.
Yeah, totally true. Look at our Phil playing trumpet at in Indian weddings, for example. You know.
You know what? When he said that amazed me. I was like, you know, I didn't even know he played the bloody trumpet. And next minute, he's like, your wedding's giving it all this.
Brilliant.
How cool is that? Class, isn't it?
It is class. Absolute class. It is. And he loves doing it. It's something that he's passionate about, and he just thinks to himself, it's portable. He can take it anywhere he wants. Why not? Go to an Indian wedding and do it. So
Phil always strikes me as a guy who, if he wants to do something, he will do it and do it and do it until he's good at it. He'll really stick at it, won't he?
It's like that's why he's been able to run and do. I think he does marathons now because he's got that discipline. But it's funny. There is an age of this, because on a Friday, every other Friday on my show, there's a guy, Steve Crow, who got into cooking. and was doing online cooking courses, and he does the thing now. His website is called I Can You Can Cook, and he's passionate about cooking, and he does online YouTube videos about cooking and food. And that's something he did during lockdown. There's another guy locally, I forget his name, who discovered a desire to make guitars. He couldn't play guitars, but
Oh, yes,
he's
yes.
he's been on my show
He
before,
has been on your show.
and
Yeah.
he's got a playlist. I'm terribly sorry I can't remember the name, but there's somebody who can't actually play or couldn't play a guitar, and he made his first guitar, and now he makes custom guitars. I can't. I'm going to find out who it is. But you just sort of think that's it's a good there's a good thing there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is. If you have your heart set on something, and again, it's the adage I said before. So long as you don't think this is going to make me millions, if you do it for your sake, and the sake of your family, blah 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 blah. You enjoy it even the more. Like I say, the money or the recognition is a bonus. It's a bonus in anything. You could go to dentistry. You didn't become a dentist, so you could be Tom Cruise's dentist one day and make loads of money. You came because you had an interest and in that side of things. So
no, like you say, that at the end of the day, if you look after your business, whatever it is you do, your business will look after you.
Yeah. It's an old adage, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about money, this, that, and the other. Just be the best that you want to be in whatever it is you do, and let the rest look after itself.
But that is hard. I think that is hard. Like if you I mean, my wife always says, Rod, you should never have gone into consulting, right? You should have gone into farming because you were passionate about farming, right? But there's an element to which didn't own a farm, right? And family didn't have a farm, and also I looked at it and thought, well, it's a really tough life. And then you look at a life in business, you think, well, maybe it's better, but it's not actually. It's still just as tough. But and she constantly, Helen will turn around and say, why did you ever go into consulting? Because you would rather be out in the field chasing a cow or something, or working with animals or something, and it's very hard to take that principle of do what you're good at or what you're passionate about, isn't it? Sometimes
you don't you feel, if you do look, when you're given those options, and this became apparent in my careers meeting at school. I always wanted to be a car mechanic. Always wanted to be a car mechanic, and the attitude of my careers teacher was, no, you don't. You need to be something this, and you need to do that. So you're very easily influenced away from your passion. Thankfully, I actually went to college and became a qualified mechanic because that's what I wanted to do, and I think it was to spite me careers officers as well. But it's that kind of negativity from the careers officers back then that took a lot of people away from A, what the dream was, and B, what they would be bloody good at if they took that path. And there's a lot that's gone different ways, and you think, wow, why am I on this path? Why have I not gone the way I wanted to go? And it is down to this, especially, like I say, at our school, the old-fashioned. I went to a grammar school. When I went, it was one of the top in Manchester, and there were certain expectations of their students, grades, and what jobs they should be aiming for. So for me to go in and say I want to be a car mechanic, oh my God, you might as well just tell me you're going to be a dustbin man. It's ridiculous. That's that sort of attitude. It's ridiculous. But
no. But I think that's
the world is changing.
Well, and also I think it's a luxury we can do now because we are retired. We don't need to really answer to that. And as we say, I think we don't really have to think about the monetary aspect of it in that sense. We want to do it because we're passionate about it. At the end of the day, if you do anything that you want to do, it's because you always wanted to do it. Maybe there's a little regret of you didn't do it. And now here's a great opportunity for you to do it now. So everything you said, both of you, is absolutely right. If you want to do something now, now's the time. What else have we got to wait for now?
And I think that goes for younger generations as well. For me, whatever you do, if you're passionate about it and you're authentic about it, and you take a slightly maybe different angle to it, if you like, then it'll get recognized somehow, and so it's whether you want to be a baker, you want to make clothes, or you want to be a dentist or a doctor or whatever. If you go into it, and I think the big thing, the thing I've learned, and I learned this early in life, or at least I was told this early in life, is have curiosity, be curious, think around the subject, explore the subject. And I think that's the thing about, we were talking about education before. I think if we went back and did, or you went and did a degree course, you did a PhD or something, I think you would have that luxury of not having the pressure about just getting the result. It would be about the journey, and you might think around it more, and you probably would enjoy it more. But when you're at the start of your life and you're in a machine and you're focused on the result, and you're being told that if you don't get this result, you'll not progress, it's a bit like being Monopoly, isn't it? Whereas we're happier to play snakes and ladders now. We don't care if there's a drop, because the drop might be a bit of fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, it's like a stepping stones, isn't it? You start off with nursery, then GCSEs, A levels, and then degree, and then your job, and then this, and then eventually you get to this perceived other side, which is maybe retirement, maybe your own practice, maybe a certain position, in the force you want to get to that, or your certain position in the company you want to be a part. You get railroaded into that, don't you? You buy not your dream, it's the corporate dream, isn't it? When you get to it, and it's life can throw you off it sometimes, which for whatever reason.
But you see, that's the thing. I know. I think that's the thing I'd be less scared about if I had my chance again.
Yeah, me too.
Which is sometimes like snakes and ladders. If I think about it, we're always told to focus on the stairs and avoid the slides, right? And actually, it can be occasionally you got to go backwards to go forward. Sometimes you might try something and it doesn't work out, and it's a shame, and it's a shame that in society we don't have more of an appetite or acceptability of not getting things right, and it's always classed as a failure.
Well, that's what Edison said, wasn't it? He said, "Show me a person who hasn't failed. I'll show you a person who's not tried."
And this is the thing that I think, I think that we put too much fear into each generation, because we always assume everything has to be right. You can't have a go. So, come back to our discussion about hobbies. What's the worst if you write a book, right? And nobody but you and some other people read it? At least you'll have done it. That's it. And you can always say that,
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
diary of a dentist.
Or start off with a little blog or something. See what happens.
Adrian Mole.
Yeah. Well.
Molar.
Or yours could be Adrian Molar.
Molar.
I love it. Like it. Ashy Molar. No.
Actually, well, you have to have a pseudonym as well, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you could actually, what you could do is have a smile with a gold little thing. It goes ping.
Maybe I could call myself Sweet. Yeah. Maybe I could call myself Sweet Tooth, and then I went.
Yes,
I like it.
Can be the antithesis of the modern day.
Yeah.
You could, there you go.
Oh, I've just told everyone who I am, haven't I? Now
I've got to ask.
I defeated the object there, didn't I? What the hell?
I've got to ask though, because I've been waiting for. We've been on an area for about an hour. What does your cushion say, Ash?
Which one? This?
Well, yeah, that one that you're holding. Oh, reserved for Dad.
Yeah, got me that because I said, yes, Sal, my chair. I said, right, That's it. She goes, Dad, I've got you this, so you can plonk it down. And did it work? Did it, buggery? Does it work? No, it does not.
Well, that's a whole different subject. But
That's
you know,
it. You've got no dads have no chances, do they, guys? At the end of the day, you're last in the queue for everything.
snakes and ladders, we're always at the bottom.
We are always
Yeah.
we are on the snake perpetually, aren't we?
Totally. Totally. So, sometimes by design and sometimes by choice, but definitely always on the slide. Yeah.
Oh, Dad, will you stick us a ladder up there, please, so I can go up it?
Yes.
Yeah, certainly. There you go. And I'll stay at the bottom holding it like this. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. You can put your foot on my head. It's fine. On my face, it's all right. Don't worry.
Do you know what though? There's no better feeling than when actually they do need something from you, is there?
Yeah.
You know, when you get that little text that says,
"Don't you get all righteous, don't you?"
Well, I unfortunately do, and then that stops them from texting for another 3-4 weeks. You know, I've had to actually pull back from trying to be righteous Rod, and
righteous Rod.
but you know,
but you've got to know the subtle art of gaslighting. Apparently, it's an absolute format. Apparently, if you do it correctly.
What's that?
Gaslighting. You know, there's this thing whereby, you know, like almost takes passive aggression to another level. I haven't mastered it. I don't know what I'm doing.
I just do aggression. I don't do passive aggressive. I just do aggression.
Get in there. 2 foot, it's good showing.
Oh, it's and you know what the right thing is, and it's a bit trying to like consult yourself, and then you just go, why the earth did I do that? You know, but anyway, That's why there is a piece of technology, isn't it? If you had like the ability in your life to be like VHS, where you could scroll back and then you could actually record over the bit that was crap. You know what I mean? You know, you just go, let's do it again.
Yeah, retake that bit.
That would be a good skill.
And there you would lose your learning experience, though, Rod. That's the we are who we are because of all of the glitches that we've made.
And that comes back to authenticity, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Never be afraid to make a mistake. It is there's this thing, I'll tell you, this thing what's it? Have you guys heard of something called kintsugi? It's a Japanese art whereby, so what happened is someone's been through a trauma, and so what happens, you get a porcelain jar, and it's meant to reflect you. So, you know, when you are broken and you're fractured and you're broken, so your pot becomes you, and you break it. And then what you have to do is put your pot back together again, whilst assembling yourself together. And then eventually you'll get a pot which has scar lines on it, fracture lines. Now, normal thought would be to actually mask those lines, make it perfect. You don't do that. What you do is you go leaf those scars. You show them. They are your badge. It's you. This is you now. Kintsugi is that you're defined by mistakes you've made, the breaks, the traumas in your life, everything like that. And I thought that was stunning. Brilliant.
That's really good. So tell me, what's the person behind that thought?
No, so it's a Japanese philosophy. It's called kintsugi, KINTSUGI. And apologies if I butchered that, but it's kintsugi. Yeah. So
I like that. That's
fantastic. Yeah.
Oh. But that actually is a good
celebrate your faults, celebrate your mistakes, celebrate, you know, what made you, you know, we are here because of where we've been. I know it sounds like a stupid thing to say. You know what I mean, don't you?
But great psychiatrist, actually, wasn't he?
Well,
just don't celebrate mistakes if you're in government. I'm sorry, coming back to that, but
well, you've got to learn from them, though. That's the thing. Kintsugi is about not just keep making the same one.
They've lost that gene to learn.
We need a bit of kintsugi. We need a bit of kintsugi thrown down to Westminster right now. That's actually...
That's what we need in there, chaps.
I love how you see you're getting good at this, because you brought this all the way back to sort of reflections and thinking and all that type of thing. I like that. Kintsugi. Yeah. I must look that up.
I'll put it on our thing, our group.
Yeah. Please do. There you go. So that's your tip for today. Get a bit more kintsugi in your life.
Kintsugi, embrace all aspects of our lives.
See,
Like it. What a great note to end on.
There you go. Well, we'll take that, and we'll
maybe that's a chat for a blog. What do you think?
Don't oversell it.
And there is the co-light today, Paul.
Ash, I'm gonna make this offer to you. If you want to do a blog, or you want to write a book or a short story or anything, we will publish it on ACM.
Oh, crikey! Right, well,
because we
know, guys. Obviously, it's who you know, isn't it?
No, but that's what we are. We're a community media, multimedia organization.
Ooh,
and
straight back in.
Yeah.
Straight back in.
I know, but that's what it's about, isn't it? You know, and giving people platforms. So, honest to God, that would be brilliant. Or you could even do an ebook, or what's Paul? What's one of those where you do an audiobook? Do you?
Yeah. Ooh, yes. You don't.
You need a better voice than I've got. Anyway, you need Paul.
Very expensive.
Paul narrating it.
E-books to get audio books to get made are very expensive at the moment.
Yeah, but I actually think you could do them less expensively, Paul. I really do. And you know, we have got a studio that sits there 60% of the time, if not more, empty. And it's reasonably soundproofed. We could actually have people coming in, and they could be doing short stories, they could be doing poems, they could be doing blogs, they could be doing books, audio books. It's there, you know.
You know what? You could if you were to get somebody with a nice speaking voice, male, female, whatever, and make people audio books, you would make a killing.
We have.
Why don't you do one of yours, Paul? You know,
I've been looking at. They say an author should never read their own book, narrate their own book. So I've been looking into it, and I think one of my shorter books, George, was looking at around the £5,000 mark to be put into an audio book.
Wow!
So it's not cheap.
Wow!
Not cheap.
Do they price that on per page, per word, or what?
Yeah, they do it per page, I think it is. They can speak so many words in an hour. They've got it all down, and they do it based on the amounts of pages.
See, my thought on this is if you bring together some people who want experience of how to do that, right, and some people who've got the time and have got a curiosity to record a book with somebody who's got a book, you merge those things together, and you do it for free initially.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
as a community venture.
Yeah, and then whatever, if anything comes of it, it's, as they say, share the wealth.
Share the wealth, exactly that. That's what it's like.
That's where your community page lives up to its name, then, isn't it? This is where it's all,
that's still one of the channels. I personally speaking, when we came up with ACM, Altrincham Community Media, that was one of the channels that we said we would try to do. I would love to do a radio play, for example. Love to have a radio play. Yeah. You know, and broadcast it at lunchtime or something. You know, but anyway, there we go. So
I love that. I used to love that. The Radio 4 used to do a book at lunchtime almost. I used to listen to it about half an hour, 20 minutes, and you think, oh God, who's going to listen? I tell you, have you ever done that? It's like crap.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're listening to it, and you just go, God, I can't. Patience in 5 minutes. I want to find out what happened. And you're there listening to it. And you go, you're going to get this guy in yet? I go, no. I want to find out what happens.
Well, that's why the waiting rooms are full in dentists.
Well,
no, now Rod knows why he's been waiting 5 minutes.
Ash was finishing the chapter. You know, eating a Mars bar and having a very a sugary cappuccino. But there you go. Well, look, you know, this started off with what we've been doing and has turned into the most random set of subjects. But I've enjoyed it anyway.
Always the best way.
We get there. So there you go. Well, it's the three amigos, not the four stooges today. But we will be back maybe in a couple of weeks' time, maybe a week's time. You don't know with us these days, but there you go. That is life after work, a commentary on ideas.
Yes.
On I was going to say the afterlife. It's not the afterlife. It's the next life, really.
The next stage.
Guys, see you soon.
Have a lovely
Take
week,
care,
guys. Have a
everyone.
lovely week, everyone.
Cheers now.